On a long haul via Interstate 10, a semi crashes into a barred owl going 70 miles per hour. Assuming the victim died on impact, the truck driver continues on his route another 45 minutes before stopping for gas. While fueling the 18-wheeler, a bystander notices movement coming from the grill of the truck and rushes over to investigate. There, she finds a wife, struggling to hold on one more second. She comforts the helpless owl and waits for help to arrive. On a terribly windy day in June, an oil-soaked spinner dolphin is washed ashore at the mercy of the currents and waves from the Gulf of Mexico. Onlookers watch in horror as rescuers fight both nature and time to save his life. He will mark the first of many marine mammals on our beaches to pay the ultimate price for the impact of our human footprint. A white-tailed deer not but a few days old, whose mother was struck and killed by a car. Two wonderful soldiers saw the orphaned and hopeless fawn standing next to his mother's carcass along the side of the road. They pulled over to help. With a guarded prognosis, wildlife rehabilitators work around the clock administering fluids, trying to stabilize the weak and wavering baby. Increasing human population and spreading development along the Emerald Coast have created an increasing demand for wildlife rehabilitation and education.
The mission of the Emerald Coast Wildlife Refuge is to provide education, conservation, and rehabilitation for the welfare of Florida's natural fauna. There's a common misconception that the refuge is funded through government contracts from local and state governments, but in fact we are not. We're fully funded by private donations, fundraisers, and grants. The refuge maintains good wildlife management practices based off of the most current research, as well as our regulatory agencies, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, USDA, and the National Marine Fisheries.
When local fisherman George Gray walked quickly across the white sands of Pensacola Beach with a single tiny baby dolphin in tow, he never imagined that one simple act of compassion would start a local conservation revolution. George, along with co-founders Julie Parvin and Richard Everett, formed a speedy coalition of concerned local citizens to respond to the rescue of Kiwi, a 1-month-old pantropical spotted dolphin.
The conception and start of Emerald Coast Wildlife started in 1994. We had been involved with a couple of strandings that we had to use open pools for, natural pools, and we had some bad weather, and the volunteers were sitting out in the weather and such, and was able to release one, to keep one, and unfortunately weren't able to keep the other. And I told myself at that time that we would never have that problem again. And I put together a board of directors, and that's how Emerald Coast Wildlife was formed.
In September 1994, the refuge was officially incorporated as a not-for-profit corporation and became permitted by the state of Florida and the federal government to rehabilitate all species of wildlife. For the first 6 years, the refuge operated out of volunteers' homes. In March of 2000, refuge leaders recognized the necessity of a central base of operations and leased a commercial warehouse in Destin. Through this permanent residence, the refuge became more accessible to the public and gained local recognition. As the number of admissions continued to increase and a master plan was developed, additional space and more appropriate facilities were required. In early 2005, with the help of passionate volunteers and a zealous community, the refuge was able to earn enough funds to relocate to a larger facility in Fort Walton Beach and hire a professional staff to oversee operations. From there, Emerald Coast Wildlife Refuge leaders were able to focus on implementing the master plan and developing public outreach programs.
We got more and more volunteers the bigger we got, the more people heard about us, and everybody just took care of their animals at their homes at that point.
I'm just so happy that after I left the organization for health problems, that that it's still going as strong as it is now.
And we just have come so far, and hopefully we're going to keep on growing.
We at Emerald Coast Wildlife Refuge are a member since our beginning in 1994, a member of the Marine Mammal Stranding Network. We're one of 5 agencies in the northern Gulf Coast that responds to stranded marine mammals, and our area of coverage is from Walton County to Escambia County at the Alabama state line. It's about 80 miles of Gulf shoreline and includes the estuaries of Choctawhatchee Bay, Santa Rosa Sound, Pensacola Bay, and part of Perdido Bay. We have a number of members that will come when called that are professionally trained to assist. If we have an animal in distress that's injured and it's washed up on a beach, or it's out and spotted out in local waterways, we'll go out and provide medical care for the animal and transport it to currently the only regional facility for care of these animals, which is located in Panama City. Our hope is in the future to be able to develop a facility here on Okaloosa Island for caring for these animals. So our mission at the Wildlife Refuge is to provide medical care for the animals, to do a scientific investigation on causes of mortality, and to provide public education to ensure the sustainability and long-term survival of these species for future generations to enjoy.
Education is a vital component of our mission through the programs that we currently do, which are camp programs for children and outreach programs throughout the community, including lots of festivals. We instill passion and commitment in our young audience. We realize the need to expand these programs, and the Gulfview Hotel would be just a perfect venue to be able to offer more in-depth and more extensive programming.
With the much appreciated help and cooperation of the Okaloosa County Commission members who've granted the refuge land to build their permanent facility, the organization is prepared to implement the next phase of its transition, becoming a fully functional wildlife veterinary clinic and charter school, the Emerald Coast Wildlife Refuge Academy of Zoological Sciences. The new property, located at the Golf Center on Okaloosa Island, will position the refuge to serve as a hub for wildlife rescues, volunteerism, and environmental education opportunities. Keeping true to form in their passion to protect and preserve, the leaders of Emerald Coast Wildlife Refuge, working hand in hand with the Junior Service League of the Emerald Coast, have chosen a nationally recognized historic landmark to become the premier education venue of its kind, to teach our community and youth the importance of conservation and preservation of habitat.
The Gulfview Hotel was operated as a hotel from 1913 to 1986. When the building was no longer used as a hotel, it began to deteriorate, and in the early 90s, the descendants of Theo's staff approached the Junior League about assisting them with renovation of the building. The Junior League had been involved with other renovation projects in the Fort Walton area prior to the renovation of this building. The City of Fort Walton in 1994 did a feasibility study with regard to the renovations, and based on that feasibility study in 1996, the Junior League voted to acquire the building and assist with the renovations. And the Junior League wanted to make sure that the history of the building was preserved for the community. We felt like it was important to the community to maintain the history of the building.
Constructed in 1906, the Gulfview Hotel, located on Miracle Strip Parkway in Fort Walton Beach, was originally operated as a hunting and fishing lodge. In 1913, Theo staff purchased the lodge and began managing it as a hotel. It was the only hotel built in Okaloosa County to later become recognized on the National Register of Historic Places. The refuge is committed to preserving this beautiful and valuable piece of Northwest Florida's history before it falls victim to weathering, industrial development, or demolition. Over the past several months, the Emerald Coast Wildlife Refuge has worked with industry professionals on a plan to safely transport the Gulfview Hotel to their property on Okaloosa Island.
After consulting with many contractors in the area, we've decided that it's going to take around $275,000 to move this beautiful old Gulfview Hotel to our site on Okaloosa Island that's been leased to us by the Board of County Commissioners. And I'm confident now, with the dedication of our board members and our staff, as well as the support of our many volunteers, and of course the support of the entire communities, we'll be able to reach our goal of moving this hotel all the way over to our site on Okaloosa Island.
Help me teach them the importance of conservation and preservation.
Help me lead future generations.
Help me give them a second chance.